Four French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. The three wide again, Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across, they're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
Before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy, you know, these are 5-ton machines, 1200 horsepower brake.
Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, you can look and the drift is going off.
Back there, go on ball with Ben Gregory now. I love it. 18.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Chaz Draycott Media, and welcome to another 2 rounds of the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship. We're here for rounds 9 and 10 of the season from the awesome Hockenheimring. Not quite what it was in its former glory, but an amazing racing circuit all the same that will provide a fantastic amount of battling here tonight on our channel. My name is Chaz Draycott. I'm delighted once again to be joined by my co-commentator Ed May in the commentary box. Ed, we have seen so many great races here before. I'm really excited to see GT3 machinery on the channel here tonight.
Yeah, thank you. And so much, Chaz. This has been a round that I was looking forward to for quite a while because it might not be the best circuit to hot lap, but in terms of the racing that it provides with those long straights at the beginning of the lap, it does really provide some entertainment for us here in the comments box. And also everyone watching along on the stream as well, and coming off the back of a very different circuit, a very tight technical sort of street circuit in Montreal. This is a complete world apart from that one.
Absolutely is, yeah. This circuit is not as narrow as Gilles Villeneuve, and to be fair, it's really not going to be as much of a bottleneck, I don't think, as that place was. Obviously, we saw quite a large incident last time out with Gilles Villeneuve, but I think that was part and parcel of the circuit itself. We're here on the Grand Prix circuit, though, with the huge Parabolica section down towards the hairpin, and then we have to think about the Mercedes arena as well, where we're going to see a lot of outbraking manoeuvres here tonight. It's not very hot at all. There's very little wind as well, so the drivers will not have to worry too much about shredding the tyres in the 2 30-minute sprint races here this evening. We will still have pit stops as well over the course of the 2 races, so it's not just a straight sprint. There's a lot for these drivers to think about. Here are the championship points as they stand right now. Don't forget that drop rounds are now applying to everybody's scores, but it is still Troy Dolenchek that is at the top with 420 points. He's clear of Yannis Albert on 382, and then he's only 3 points ahead of Luke Lucchese and Tristan Dino Brega, not too far behind as well, but those guys both having a tough time at Gilles Villeneuve. Thomas Pugh finds himself in 5th place. Ian Stitchbury not here this evening. However, he's made a very interesting change to the Ford GT GT3 for the remainder of the season. He's been very entertaining in the Mercedes up to now, but he's decided to go down that route instead. So I'm excited to see when he gets back for how that one goes, Ed. But why don't you take it away with the Premier Class standings?
Thank you very much, Chaz. And Jay Tahar's streak of podiums came to an end last time out at Montreal circuit. Gilles Villeneuve did not work for him whatsoever. He finished 4th and 13th, but with the drop rounds, he still retains the lead of the championship to his teammate Tristan Engelstad in 2nd place. Alex Fretwell getting his championship back on track with 2 podiums sees him secure 3rd place from Joe Glass in 4th, with Matt Hoyland 5th, Nathan Crook in 6th ahead of James Bostock, Marcel Breitenbach, Simon Cheshire and Robin Aston, who round out the top 10 in the Premier Class.
Thanks very much, Ed. And moving over into the Evo class, the 3rd class in the championship, Russell Jakes is top of the pile with 393 points over Rob McKee. He's in 2nd position on 360, just 10 ahead of Wesley Van Ren, so it's nice and close up there, with John Ludbrook next up ahead of Graham Matthew. He's then got Gareth Newton in the Sumo Racing Lamborghini just behind, and then Danny Weir in the highest placed Audi in the field. He's actually in a beautiful livery for DXT Motorsports Academy. I don't see his teammate quite up there at the moment, but those guys have been giving it a good go, Ed, and to be fair, there's a lot of great teams in the standings, and then again, actually on that subject, we can have a look at how the teams are at the moment.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chaz. Wonderful segue there as we see now RDSA currently topping the team's standings. They were able to get ahead of Quad Dash after the proceedings last week. Sees Tristan Engelstad and Jenny Tahar drop down into second position ahead of Suma Racing, with DXT in fourth place. Fifth sees Barbecue Bread Racing ahead of Ludcrook Racing, with Octane Racing Academy, MRC 493, PTEC GP2 and KM Racing rounding out the top 10.
Thanks very much, Ed. Thank you very much indeed. We look at some on-track action now as the drivers are just completing the practice session ahead of qualifying for tonight. Don't forget that qualifying sets the first race grid, and then the second race grid will have the top 12 finishers reversed. This is Ryan Ottens in the Porsche. It's worth practicing the pit entrance here, actually, at Hockenheim. He comes in and then decides to pull the car over to one side. There's only 70 thousandths of a second between the top three in the elite class, and there's actually, well, there was just about 10 thousandths of a second between the top two in both classes at the moment, but Nathan Crook has just improved, and he finds himself at the very top of the order in the Premier class right now. Nathan's been very, very quick. He's been a very exciting driver to watch this season. He's had a few incidents here and there, though, and unfortunately has lost a few points to the stewards as the championship has gone on. But fingers crossed tonight he can have a clean run of it. We've got Alex Koenraerts that is fastest in the PTEC GP2 car at the moment in the Evo class. And we need to have a look at some of the MRC cars, because Chris Keenan, one of the championship sponsors of Keenan Eco Energy, did message me earlier today. He said they're going all stealth for the remainder of the season, and they've got this darker livery on the car which looks really tasty indeed. And Chris let me know just earlier on that that's the look that they're going to be going for until the season end. We've got him, Jack Wyborn in there as well, Russell Jakes and Simon Cheshire, who is in the Premier class.
Yeah, so good to see plenty of cars out and around on the circuit. At the moment, though, we have Luke Lucchese for RDSA Esports topping the times as per usual, really. We often see him in these sessions right out on top. You can see from the onboard he is properly throwing the car around, even though it's just a practice session.
Yeah, really throwing it about. The Porsche is one of those cars that does respond to being chucked about quite well. It's a car that you see a lot of the drivers have massive amounts of confidence in. Doesn't seem to be a car that's a nightmare to drive, so it's definitely the car to be in this season. As you'll see, all the cars on screen right now are all Porsches. However, there have been a certain few elements of the championship where the other cars have been strong. I mean, last time out the Lamborghini was apparently very strong at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. And we do have some newcomers to the championship as well tonight. We've got Francois Brandet. He's starting out for DXT Motorsports Academy in the championship. He's going to be racing in the Evo class. Currently fourth position at the moment as well is Francois. And the other driver joining the ranks is Jaco Stein. He's in the pit lane at the moment. I thought it was Jaco Stein or Jaco Stein. We'll have to confirm that from him. But another South African driver in the order. We've actually got four of them at the front at the moment, Ed. We've got Luke Lucchese, Troy Dolinchek, Ryan Ottens, and then this man, Tristan Dino Brega. Top four, all South African drivers.
Yeah, they seem to be taking the championship by storm at this moment in time, and we've actually got two Lamborghinis of Yannis Albert and Paul Cowlishaw just in behind them. Suma Racing have been the only team that can really take the fight to RDSA so far this season, mainly in the form of Yannis Albert, but Paul Cowlishaw, with the laps he's been putting in this practice session, could also find himself in the mix as well. You can see him now in behind the wonderful Tunnocks Tea Cake livery of, is that Wesley Van Rens up ahead? Or is that...
No, Gary Mitchell, I believe
Gary
it is.
Mitchell, Gary Mitchell, who's just up ahead. A lovely, very distinctive livery that I think he wore from the... Is it Road America round onwards? Yeah,
it was from round 2 or 3 of the championship onwards that he's had that on. He just moves over to one side, lets Paul Cowlishaw through. He knows that Paul on paper is a bit quicker, and he's obviously caught up to him over the course of the lap. However, practice just comes to an end now. Bit of a spin there for Gary Mitchell. We'll save him his blushes. You can still see the cloud of smoke in the background. But practice is now complete, and it will be time to get qualifying underway here for round 9 of the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship. It's a lone qualifying session for the drivers. Yannis Albert, once again, one of the first drivers to pop up on our screens. and pop out of the pit lane, and he's let me know that there's an update to his car this week, and it is the fact that he doesn't have the horrendous pink wheels on it anymore. Now, Yanis, as part of the team, has his highlights on the car in pink. A lot of the team tend to have different coloured highlights based on whoever it is driving, whether it's a windscreen banner or whether it's wing mirrors. Yanis had the pink wheels on the car, but now he's changed them to the beautiful sort of teal colour that they have all over the Sumo Racing Lamborghini. We've got Ashley Brooks, one of the championship sponsors, back out there again this evening for Glass Tech Racing. Although it seems like a slightly different livery to what we used to from Ashley Brooks. I believe he's usually in a black livery, or am I being an idiot? I'm not quite sure if I got that right or not. A big shout out, by the way, to the championship sponsors, AB Designs, Ashley Brooks, which is Keenan Eco Energy as well. We've got Medius and also Kame, the 4 championship sponsors. We're very grateful to have you all on board. We hope you're, of course, enjoying the show as well as we go through this great championship. I can't believe we're already at rounds 9 and 10, actually, Ed. It's gone very, very quickly, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has been very, very fast-paced, this championship. And like you say, the rounds have really streaked by. We are now... Ooh, as Ashley Brooks chucks it a little bit too hard into the wall there. Sends it into the barrel. Thankfully, the engine is at the back, not in the front, so that isn't terminal damage. But still, that is a big hit into the barriers there. And it's not even on a push lap, is it? They're just trying to get the tyres up to temperature, so not really needed.
No, it's easy to do that, though, because there's a horrible, horrible curb out there. You can really push the car too hard over it, and all it takes is for it to do a Tony Hawk-style grind along the top of it, bottom the car out, and all of a sudden you'll be spinning the wheels up, and then it'll just spit off in whatever direction when that curb ends. We have here Jamal Gandor for Simsa Esports, making his way around the final couple of corners. The last 2 corners here, Ed, especially on the exit there, actually, with the huge curb and runoff, they are mighty difficult here at Hockenheim. It often goes very understated, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's a circuit that does fly under the radar a little bit in terms of what you mentioned there. But again, just seeing the cars now, I think at the start of qualifying, just struggle to warm them up, because there aren't a lot of areas where you can warm the tyres up around here because of the natural just straight line, not scrubbing too much of the speed and getting the heat into the tyres, because the only real opportunity the drivers get is on sort of the middle and final sectors. So we might see the drivers leaving it right till the very end of the session before they put their fastest times in, as opposed to, say, around about maybe lap 2 or 3 when they're at their peak.
Got a few drivers now starting their fast laps. Wesley Van Rens has just got onto his. He was an early leader in the Evo Championship, but has had a couple of difficult rounds since and has dropped to 3rd in the current standings, but he's right up there. He's definitely one of the drivers that's on the pace with the other guys around him. Gianni Terhar, by the look of it, is not going to be able to get out there on the circuit. He's had an issue with his wheel and it will not connect to his PC, so he's having an absolute nightmare as Gianni Terhar, so hopefully we get to see him back out there. We've got his teammate Tristan Engelstad on our screen right now. He's just about to cross the line. Dolinchek does 3 purple sectors. And any moment now, we're going to see times coming through on the board. There they are. Dolinchek fastest, about a quarter of a second ahead of Ryan Ottens. Ryan going really well in that Porsche, actually. Tristan Dinobrega in 3rd place, then Cowlishaw, then Albert. It's Barnett fastest at the moment in the Premier class. Engelstad is 2nd quickest. Then it's Wyborn, or now it's Scott Kostrick's gone up there as well, but nearly 0.8 of a second off. That's a great time, that, by Matt Barnett. He was really, really good, actually, at Gilles Villeneuve, wasn't he, Ed? He had a fantastic race meeting there, and he'll want to definitely repeat that here.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen a lot of drivers have some better results than they've had all season long. And I think Alex Fretwell's been a great example of that, with 2 podiums back-to-back in the Evo class. And I think he's starting to get his championship back in track as well. And we're going to see maybe a difference between the drivers of how they'll push on from here on out, because we've heard from a lot of drivers that sort of American rounds wouldn't really suit them. I know Yannis Albert was saying that he was expecting his championship to really ramp up now that we come to more familiar circuits to him, the European round. And of course, with this being the Hockenheimring, this is Yannis's home race, which is something to think about.
It's also something that he's asked us not to mention because he hates the Hockenheimring. So there's that. You can't blame me, Yannis. It was Ed. But Yannis is pushing on at the moment in the Lambo. Great sounding machine, of course, but just hasn't quite been the car to be in so far this season. It's definitely the Porsche that is the dominant factor here. Stephen Catebread, well, he's rising to the top at the moment. He's only 81 thousandths of a second off the fastest time set by Alex Koenraerts. Let's not forget that Steven started the championship in the BMW as well, so he's had a big change in terms of the machine that's underneath him. But the Ferrari looks just as resplendent as the BMW did in this livery, the Shell Racing livery. Just making his way around the final couple of corners now. It always looks quite planted, the Ferrari, but a lot of the drivers say that it feels quite understeery sometimes. It's either really understeery or really oversteery on the brakes, so it's definitely a car that wants to kill you wherever you go. Here's Matt Hoyland across the line. Purple first sector from him. He improves in the second sector as well, and it's enough to take him to the top of the times in the Premier class. He overtakes Nathan Crook. He's actually faster than Yannis Albert as well when you look at the overall times. That is the list as it stands on the left. You can see there's a good mixture there, isn't there, Ed, between some of the Evo guys getting amongst the Premier class and some of the Premier class getting amongst the Elite class.
Yeah, which is always great to see. Obviously, the drivers score points based on where they finish in class, not out on the circuit. But that mixing and the ability for the drivers to battle with one another, maybe let some other through at strategic points, but they never shy away from it, which is great to see. And from our perspective in the commentary box, we always love to see a battle on track, regardless if it's for class position or not.
Yeah, definitely. We always love to see the drivers having a good old scrap. We've got Russell Jakes, who's currently on a good lap for MRC 493. He's hoping to go to the top of the times in his class. Around the final corner he goes. Careful of that curb. It's another one where you can just bottom out the middle of the car. Across the line he goes. Another purple sector there for Russell. That's surely got to be pole position in class with that. Yes, it is, by over a quarter of a second as well. So car number 7 flies right to the top of the Evo class. Very well done indeed. We've got Jan Stitchbury actually in the YouTube chat as well. He said, evening from ORA Motorsports. Christoph and I are in Imola for the weekend, so I had to miss the round tonight. Very excited to bring a Ford GT to the grid. He knew he wasn't in the championship fight, so it'll add an extra noise to the field. And, well, noise indeed, Ed. It's a very, very loud, massive bomb of a V8, isn't it, the Ford GT? And iRacing still somehow milking it to this day.
Yeah, obviously they do keep it on the service for whatever reason. I don't really know the thought process behind
It's
it.
just a
Because
meme now, isn't it?
It does stick out like a sore thumb when you see it on the grid next to all of these sort of modern GT3 machinery, and then you see sort of almost an ancient relic, really, the Ford GT from the very inception of the GT3 format. That car has stayed true onto iRacing. It is great to see it, even if it is, like you say, a little bit of a meme.
Yeah, I think it's about 16 years old now, the Ford GT GT3. Very, very old machine indeed. Wesley Van Rens makes his way around the final couple of corners. He's had an improvement on 2 sectors so far on this lap. Is it enough to move up? It is not. He's still 0.6 of a second off Russell Jakes. There's nearly 10 minutes of qualifying still left to go. Ashley Brooks just has a bit of a wiggle there into the final couple of corners. He's going to set himself up now to have another go. They get 4 laps each in this qualifying session. So around the final corner goes Ashley, one of the championship sponsors. This is his 4th and final flying lap now. He uses a lot of the curb on the outside there, but you can get away with it through turn 1. You've got to be so careful on the brakes here into turn 2. That felt very late on the brakes, and it seemingly was. But you can let the car run quite wide there sometimes, can't you, Ed, and get a bit of a slingshot on the exit before the Parabolica.
Yeah, you can do it. It is all about, like you say, maximum the speed you get through the Parabolica in towards this corner. Very tricky as well, just to judge your braking point, because at different points you can work for. You can see how much he's widening out the circuit, getting onto that blue and white curbing before turning in as Johnny Tahar comes over the line. Stays second place for now, just behind Matt Hoyland. But
well, that was his first lap there, Ed, because he's finally got his wheel working now, so he's been able to get in and try and defend some honour in the championship.
Yeah, with that being his first time, we expect that he'll only get faster as the session moves on and his tyres get up to temperature. But the gaps between the Premier class and the Elite class are very thin, aren't they? We can see sort of them interspersed between one another, and then they sort of blend in towards each other. Then we get to the Evo class blending in to the Premier class. Like you say, it's very intriguing to see those gaps and the field spread in between one another.
And there's only a couple of thousandths of a second as well between some of the drivers. I mean, we look here at Graham Matthew in the KM Racing Lamborghini. He's only 1,000th of a second ahead of Alex Koenraerts at the moment for PTEC GP2. Russell Jakes is over a quarter of a second clear of everybody for MRC 493. But yeah, these guys so close together at this moment. And And Graham Matthews only done one flyer, so this is his second attempt here. So he's got a banker on the board, and he's got 3 laps now to continue pushing on. A little bit of a wiggle there from the Lamborghini. You've got to be so careful trying to be eager on the throttle. You can see him using all the road, rises up the curb on the left-hand side of the circuit. Dives it towards the wall a little bit just to open up the corner. Again, it's a corner where you've got to really just sort of coast around it. It's almost a blind exit. It's strange because you can see the apex, but the exit is almost blind, where the curb sort of drops away and dives down into the gravel trap. And the final sector here is all about managing the weight transfer of the car. You've got to swing it left, then right, and then as you get it round to the right-hand side on the brakes, you've got to balance the car to make sure the rear end doesn't overtake the front loop. The Casey continues on and does another lap, 1:37.448 for him. Graham Matthew with a purple sector at the end of his lap. It's not enough for pole position in the Evo class just yet. What about Gianni Terha? He's got closer to Matt Hoyland, but not... actually, no, sorry, he has actually not improved on that previous lap, so he's going to push on now with this one and one more to go, Ed.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of time left to go in the session to really extract the most out of his Porsche. You can see really accelerates nicely out of the hairpin there. That is the strength of this car, it's just how it's eager to put power down and just get up and go. We know as well that it's so potent under braking, as we're seeing now. He seems to carry a lot of speed in, but gets it stopped while still carrying decent momentum out of the corner. You can see using all of the circuit, being careful of the curbing on the exit there, running slightly shy of there, but for good reason, because we've seen if you push a bit too hard, it can really be your undoing. Now getting nicely over the curb onto the inside there, you can cut it and extend a bit out onto the wider line, braking a little bit earlier, but trailing the car in nicely. And then just the final sector to go. Could this be first place in the Premier class?
Well, no improvements so far for Gianni Terha. He's really pushing, maybe just a little bit too much. Comes around the final corner now to cross the line. We stay on board as he just does cross the line. And it is not going to be enough for Gianni. It looks like it's in the 139s even that time. It doesn't even count, actually. He had an incident point somewhere along there, so he must have been right on the brink of going outside of track limits, but still 5.5 minutes left to go. Rob Mackay has just jumped up the order into 3rd in the Evo class. Graham Matthew has just crossed the line as well. Don't think he's improved that time round. We've got newcomer to the championship. Oh, Francois Brandet just sideways there as he comes into shot in the DXT Motorsports Academy Porsche. Don't think he's... No, he's actually got a couple more laps left to go here. He's still got 2 more, so we'll see him continue to circulate. We didn't actually keep an eye on Jaco Steen earlier on, the newcomer as well. He's 8th in the elite class at the moment, but he's going to be just getting used to how these guys operate over the course of the 2 races, and he's just going to get into a bit of a rhythm, because it's always a bit nerve-wracking, isn't it, Ed, when you come into a new league or a new championship, and you've got to get used to who you're spending the time with on the circuit, I guess.
Yeah, you do. It's all about understanding how they all race together, and obviously a lot of these drivers have been familiar with one another over the course of the season, but the addition of 2 newcomers can add a little bit more spice and a little bit more of an upset into the familiar rhythm that the drivers have been developing and understanding with one another, which I think is the key thing, is the understanding, because sometimes we've had a few miscommunications out in circuit, especially in the early phases of the season, but since then, barring obviously the massive outlier that was the Montreal sort of fracas, I think it's fair to say, they've been a lot better behaved.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a well-behaved series, to be fair, in general. You know, everyone's driving standards have been brilliant over the course of the season. There's been an incident here and there, but at the end of the day, we've got nearly 50 cars every week. So this is actually the smallest grid we've had this season, and there's still 40 of them. So we've got a lot to look at. Matt Hoyland saying he's a little concerned that he didn't mess up qualifying. He says it's uncharted territory for him. So hopefully he does all right during the race. We hope it goes well for you, Matt. We continue to look here at Simon Cheshire in the MRC 495 car. I don't think he's updated his livery yet, unfortunately, so we'll have to make sure that the guys give him a smack on the wrist. I think it was a bit of a last-minute change, though, based on what Chris Keenan was telling me earlier on. So it's all good, I imagine. We've got one of the series admins here, James Bostock, just stopped on the circuit. He's done his times, and he's just parked the car to make it look pretty and the scenery. Jamal Gandor, once again, carrying on and on and on. He always does this, doesn't he, Ed? He uses every single minute of these sessions to get all the practice in that he can. Yeah,
I mean, it's always good to get in the rhythm of the circuit, as, of course, the track is going to be warming up. They start in the morning and going towards sort of the midday phase, so the circuit is only going to be getting hotter and hotter, so it's good to get familiar with the evolving circuit as it develops. Also, sometimes you can over practice hot lapping, and then when you get into a racing scenario with cars around you, you sort of struggle to get into that zone again. So we'll see how Jamal works, because you can over practice and get some bad habits.
Just watching him now make his way through turn 1. You're going to see some drivers there tonight maybe overdo it a little bit, and then you'll maybe see other drivers just maybe be a bit too reserved through there. Actually, it's very easy to do that, you know, and just get worried about how much of it you take through there. Matt Hoyland saying he's sorry for making it harder to spot him. That is all good, Matt. All good indeed, mate. It's lovely that we get the changes to the liveries over the course of the season. Keeps the grid looking very fresh. It is a very pretty grid as well, isn't it, Ed? It's definitely one of the prettiest we've ever commentated on together, that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. It's a very, very nice looking grid. But as qualifying is, well, the end of qualifying is certainly fast approaching, we have to focus on the races. And of course, the drivers have the instant limit to adhere to. 14x sees you with a drive-through penalty, then a 20x sees you disqualified. So drivers do still need to be on their best behaviour. It doesn't tend to come up the instant limit during these 30-minute sprint races. But with Hockenheim, it's a circuit that does invite you to push a little bit too hard and maybe run a few 1x's. And then, of course, the congested nature of that middle sector and final sector can see a few 4x's happen. So the drivers aren't going to necessarily be having the easiest time in the world.
No, they've still got to be really careful around here. Like we said earlier, it's a much wider circuit, much more open circuit than Gilles Villeneuve, where we were last week. But yeah, I tell you what, it's not any easier by any stretch of the imagination. Aidan Millward saying the Tunnocks tea cake livery's got the wife's attention, and ours. To be fair, we've made a bit of a joke of the tea cakes car, saying that whoever manages to overtake that car in the best way has the biggest tea cakes on them. To be fair. It's been a fantastic livery to have on the grid. I think there was actually a caramel bar livery last season. A lot of the drivers were going on about it when we got, let's say, employed to do the broadcasting for this season. But I've not seen anybody actually running that yet. I think the fact that car is being run is more of a sort of, what would you say, a bit of a homage back to the caramel bar livery from Gary Mitchell. But we have only 13 seconds of the session left. Luke Lucchese, another pole position though, Ed. And once again, it is the RDSA Esports guys that are making this their own.
Yeah, they are once again back up to the top 3 for RDSA Esports. It is now Luke Lucchese. It has been Troy Dolinchek, I think, for the majority of the early phase of the season. But Luke Lucchese is finally coming into his own now. And we're starting to see a little bit of inter-team battling, which we saw a little bit of at Sebring earlier on in the season. I think we might see it for the remainder of the season going forwards, because Luke is really getting into that zone.
Absolutely is. We'll have a look now at the grid before they get rolling for round 9 of the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship here in the 4th season from Hockenheim. It's Luke Lucchese and his teammate Troy Dolinchek on the front row. RDSA Esports at it once again. Then it's Tristan Dino Brego with Ryan Ottens alongside him. Actually, Ryan going well there in 4th place. Paul Cowlishaw is next up in the Lamborghini for Sumo Racing. And Matt Hoyland, 6th fastest in the Premier class. Very well done. Sorry, 6th fastest overall, 1st in the Premier class. Yannis Albert starting from 7th position. He's alongside Gianni Terhar. It's a very exciting 4th row of the grid. Gianni, the championship leader in the Premier class at the moment. Next up is Thomas Pugh for Barbecue Bread Racing. He's got Nathan Crook alongside him. Nathan making it into the top 10 overall in qualifying. Next up is Matt Barnett in 11th position, ahead of newcomer to the series, Jaco Stein in 12th position. Then we have Alex Fretwell and Joe Shapara in the Mercedes. Then we have Scott Kostrick and Tristan Engelstad on row 8. Jack Wyborn is with his teammate, actually, Simon Cheshire, on the 9th row of the grid. Then it's James Rankin with Russell Jakes alongside him, completing the top 20. Russell the fastest in his class. Hussein Saraka Desler is in 21st with Stephen Donnelly alongside him. Graham Matthew and Rob Mackay make up row 12. Then it's Jamal Gandor, the Lebanese driver, alongside James Bostock in 26th. Robin Aston lines up alongside Alex Kernratz in the Evo class. Then it's John Ludbrook and Paul Robson. Those two complete the top 30. Stephen Cakebread is next up alongside newcomer Francois Brandet, with Wesley Van Rens and Ashley Brooks making up the 17th row of the grid. Championship sponsor Chris Keenan is next with Gary Mitchell alongside him on row 18. And then the last 4 on the grid, Danny Weir in the Audi, Sean Clark in the ARC Motorsports machine, Alex Boniface for DXT Motorsports Academy, and Caelan Bartlett completing the 40-car field. So they neatly get away here, Ed. As Ian Stitchbury has just rightly said in chat, it's definitely the Porsche that is, as they say, OP once again. But at the end of the day, it's been the car that has been the one to beat all season, and with the top 5 of them on the grid being the ones to show off here, it certainly is becoming more and more apparent each round.
Yeah, it certainly is, but as well, it's the South Africans that appear to be OP as they lock out the front 2 rows of the grid, don't they? With Tristan Dinabreg for ADS Esports sort of tailing them ahead of them, Ryan Ottens, Troy Donchek and Luke Lucchese, who will lead the field off to start this first of the 2 sprint races for the evening. Just one more corner to go.
So around the final corner they go then. Luke Lucchese has all the power in his hands. He's going to choose when they're going to go, as far as I'm aware. Makes his way around, gets to the first of the timing lines. You'll see the front end of the Porsche hop up when he decides, gets across the line, and round 9 of the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship is underway. Everyone keeping it nice and tidy 2 by 2 as they head down towards turn 1. Let's see whether they make it through cleanly. It's easy to just hop and skip and jump over the curbs and have a spin through here. Looks like everyone's behaved themselves there. Jamal Gandor is right in the thick of the pack here with the Lamborghini in front of him. Graham Matthew and Rob Mackay side by side. Jamal sends it up the inside, goes for a move into turn 2. Doesn't go too wide, actually gets it stopped nicely and makes up the position. Yanis Albert has had a spin, and Yanis is around in the Lamborghini. That is not good for his championship hopes. And no, Danny Weir and his teammate both into the wall in amazing synchronicity. The DXT Motorsports Academy guys are having a meeting on the Parabolica. Unbelievable scenes though, as they both spin off the road. That is not what you would have wanted to see as a team manager at all. But Yanis Albert around, Ed. Big news.
Yeah, Yanis, again, he just has a little bit of a moment all by himself, it seems. And then we see the 2 DXT cars sort of have a moment, and then again, pretty much synchronised the exact same point. No contact between any other cars. That was, like you say, a little bit of a meeting of the DXT Academy cars just coming together there. We'll have a look from up in the air. Yanis gets ahead of his teammate, but I'm not sure if there's still instability from maybe hitting the curb that pitches him around.
Yeah, not quite sure. It's definitely something he does on his own with that. I mean, you wouldn't have believed your eyes if the 2 Audis did that. It's almost like there's the strangest lag you've ever seen between the 2 of them. There's been a bit of a drama, unfortunately, a bit further back, where Francois Brandet has had an issue. He's in the white and purple Porsche at the top of his shot. Oh, it's nearly 4 wide in there. He's actually run wide. It says he's gone off track, basically. I think he's just avoiding some of the dramas in the middle here. I think there was more of an issue. Oh, just a bit of contact there with one of the Porsches just rubbing along each other. Oh, dearie me. That is Cakebread involved in that. Stephen Cakebread was off in that one. Gary Mitchell managed to get through that as... Oh, Cakebread then goes flying into the back of the guys in front. Not sure if that was retaliation or what, but that was not good at all. There was a definite sort of missing of a braking zone completely there, Ed. What on earth was that about?
That's very strange. We'll see here, Stephen Cakebread in the middle of your shot there.
Oh.
Just taking a little bit too much speed in, running wide, and then coming together, and then it's helped around. I don't know if the car's just not stopping.
Yeah, it was just clumsy afterwards, wasn't it? I think in frustration, trying to figure out whether the car was repaired or not, or whether it, well, not repaired, but you know what I mean, still in full working order. But at the front of the pack, well, it's Luke Lucchese that is currently the very top of the pile. He's ahead of Troy Dolenchek, Tristan Dinabrega, Ryan Ottens, and then Matt Hoyland, 5th place outright at the moment, leading in the Premier class. Then it's Cowlishaw, Pugh, and then Nathan Crook and Matt Barnett, with Fretwell completing the top 10. It's Russell Jakes that leads the way in the Evo class. I'm afraid that there's been more drama for Paul Robson, Graham Matthew, James Bostock as well. This is Robson, side by side with the Lamborghini. Coming into the left-hander. Oh, dearie me. Big contact there. That was Graham Matthew, I believe, going straight on into James Bostock, and then the other guys got caught up in it afterwards. completely, well, of their innocent bystanders. That's the phrase I'm looking for.
I mean, Graham was just looking in his mirrors a little bit too much, I think, and wasn't really focused on the car. He broke a little bit too late and then came to blows. As this is Danny Weir, I think, just slowing down and letting the leading cars past. Now, up to live pictures with Ryan Ottens, just ahead of Matt Hoyland in behind. But in the Premier class, Gianni Sahara has not had a great start, down 3 positions. Sees himself now in 5th place in the Premier class, just 11th overall.
Yeah, Gianni's got a little bit of clear air behind him, but just in front of him now, he's got the Ferrari of Alex Fretwell for Racing League Hub. Looks like Alex has got a new livery on there tonight. Seems like he might still have the old spec map on the car, which may need deleting at my end, actually. I don't think Trading Paints at my end will update that, but looks like he's got a Sebastian Vettel-style Ferrari paint on that. Looks like Vettel's old lid is what I'm trying to say. The white with the German tricolour. Maybe a special livery just for this evening, seeing as we are at the Hockenheimring in Germany. I'll tell you what, we'll have a look at it, shall we? There's a better idea. Yeah, it's definitely got the old spec map on it, I think. Still a great looking car all the same. He's chasing down Matt Barnett, who, like we said earlier, had a really good run at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Canada last time out. There's a great battle going on behind here as well. Look, we've got Simon Cheshire ahead of Tristan Engelstad. We've also got Jaco Stein in there as well. He's a privateer. He is in an RDSA Esports livery, but he's entered the championship as a privateer because they can't have 4 cars in the one team. In there as well is Scott Kostrick, Jamal Gandor, and then James Rankin just behind. That's Scott Kostrick just in front of the Mercedes, which we now go on board with. Turned out there, Scott Kostrick was actually trying to put a move on the cars in front, wasn't he there, Ed, and became the hunted.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is he runs a little bit wide now, and Jamal Gandor is going to be able to hunt him down as they go through the long left hand of the Parabolica in towards the heavy braking zone. He's going to be forced to go around the outside. He will have his nose just ahead of the Porsche, but Porsche with the inside line, and we know how good that car is under braking.
Look at that.
He seems to be able to hold on to that position.
Oh no!
And, a little bit of contact as the car is trying to put the power down. Sees Scott pitched into a spin, but does the right thing. Stays stationary, predictable. Lets all the other cars get around him, but that is a horrible place to be on the racing circuit.
He's done really well there as Scott, considering he did really, really well there, but that's such a shame because I think Jamal just expected the overlap to be completely gone. You'll see Scott does a really good job at getting the thing stopped, and then Jamal, just as he gets on the power, just lifts up that left rear that tiny bit. I don't think that was anything malicious or anything. It was just a little bit of misjudgment there from Jamal, unfortunately.
Yeah, textbook racing incident, that one. Unfortunately, I can't see there being any malice or anything that either driver did particularly wrong. It was just one of those little moments that can happen out on a racing circuit, and sadly for Scott, it's put a big dent in his ambitions for this race, unfortunately. But up in front, nothing seems to be denting Luke Lucchese's hopes of securing the first race victory of the night, with Troy Dolinchek sitting in behind him and his teammate Tristan Dinnebrega there in third. A continuation of what we've seen pretty much for most of the season, isn't it, Chaz? RDSA Esports dominating proceedings here tonight.
Definitely, they're doing an amazing job. It's Lucchese, Dolinchek, Dinnebrega in that order, with Matt Hoyland in 5th position at the moment, the leader in the Premier class, 5th outright at the moment, 3 and a bit seconds over Nathan Crook. Still Russell Jakes that's leading the way for MLC 493, the new livery clearly doing them some good. Unfortunately, the bit rate has dropped down again for this evening. Not quite sure what on earth has happened there, so hopefully the frame's still coming through nice and strong, everybody. This happened last time out as well, which is very odd. Not quite sure if it's an OBS related thing, but we'll have to wait and see. But at the moment, Russell Jakes leading the way in the Evo class. That is the 2nd place driver, Rob Mackay. Rob's had some solid results so far this season. 3rd place at the moment, actually, Ed, having a great debut, is actually Francois Brandet. He's moved up 10 places in this race at the minute, and he's having an absolute whale of a time. There's a battle going on behind as well, as Ludbrook has just got ahead of Keenan. So, to be fair, he's actually opening up an advantage, if anything, is Francois.
Yeah, Francois really going well at the moment in time. Just looking at his lap times, he's matching the pace of those ahead and pulling away from those in behind. So it seems to be a comfortable race so far for Francois. Didn't maybe get the best qualifying performance that he was hoping for, but in terms of the way his race is going, that's the all-important thing for how you score points. He's having a wonderful time. A podium on the debut in this championship is certainly nothing to turn your nose up at. As Matt Barnett, he's going to be looking to hold on to a podium finish ahead of Alex Fretwell, but running a little bit too deep. Couldn't see him compromise his run out all the way along the parabolica. I think the Ferrari does have an overlap just around the outside, which then becomes the inside. Now, Ferrari versus Lamborghini. In fact, Gianni Tahar fancies a little bit of action. He's he's backing out of that one. Very, very wise, and maybe trying to pick up the pieces on the exit with a switchback on the Lamborghini that's going to be compromised. No, but that was a lovely move by Alex Fretwell to get up the inside, capitalising on that little mistake by Matt Barnett. Just one little misstep around here, and drivers are just ready to pounce on you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so close. This great racing between them, though. Fretwell now moves himself up into third position in class. But I'll tell you what, Matt Barnett is not going to let that one go at all. He's not going to take that one lying down. Nathan Crook is just up the road. He's now 4 seconds ahead of these guys. So he's having a decent run of it at this moment in time. He's actually got a bit of a clear circuit around him at the moment as Nathan Crook. Showing good pace here. He's got Thomas Pugh 1.3 seconds ahead. But like I say, a good 4 seconds back to the remainder of the drivers in the Premier class that are chasing him for all important points. He'll be happy to see that gap in his rear view mirror. Gianni Tahar is now the one trying to put pressure on Barnett. We've got Joe Shapara as well. I said earlier that Joe was in a Mercedes, but he has actually changed over to the Porsche now. He's in the 911 992. He's in the JSD racing team livery, but he's got Haribo written on the rear wing. As Gianni Tahar having a look down the inside of Matt Barnett, goes late on the brakes down the inside, forces Matt to get a compromised exit, but he forces himself to stop on the apex as well, and now Jaco Stain wants a piece of this as well.
Yeah, Gianni Tahar sort of half-asked that move, didn't he? He looked up the inside, thought about it, but then backed out, but caused a bit of a miscommunication, and that seemed to be cause for the check up in behind. But Joe Shapara, I think, didn't he switch to the Porsche from Montreal?
Yes,
I seem to remember. I think that was Montreal where he first went towards the Porsche. Didn't quite work out for him in terms of the results, but you can definitely see the benefits of switching to the Porsche because it is the favoured car by pretty much the whole field at this point in time.
Yeah, definitely. Certainly the car to be in. We've got a little bit of a battle developing a bit further down here. Caelan Bartlett just ahead of Sean Clark, and then Graham Matthew in the Lamborghini. Graham had a little bit of a shunt earlier on, so he's having to be a bit careful here on the brakes to make sure he doesn't overdo it as he tries to get the run on the Porsches in front. Don't know what it is about the Lamborghini, but it just feels like it's got more power when you're on board with it. It feels like it really propels itself further forward with that lower sounding revs. 5.2 litre V10 in the Lamborghini as opposed to the 4 litre flat 6 that you'll find in the back of the screaming Porsche 911. All over the curbs this way and that way for Graham there, really dancing with the car. He's got Robin Aston in the ARC Motorsports Porsche just behind him. Gingerly through here. You have to be gingerly everywhere, to be fair, in the Lamborghini, because it does want to kill you everywhere that you go, but it wouldn't be a Lamborghini if it didn't.
No, and again, this car feels so fast because I think you're sitting a lot lower down in this car than you do in any of the other GT3 machines. The driving position does give you a good feel for what's going on the circuit and gives you a great sense of speed, but can also then make you all the more acutely aware of just how unpredictable this beast is.
Robin Aston there with the low downforce front end on his ARC Motorsports Porsche, trying to help his teammate out actually. Sean Clark just a place or two ahead, but of course they're in different classes. Robin Aston in the Premier class, his teammate in the Evo class. I do apologise again about the bitrate, everybody. If there is any sort of drop in of frames or if the quality is dropped, I'm really sorry about the fact that that's happening, but I do not know why. I've just run a speed test literally while broadcasting, risky I know, still getting 900 meg down and still getting 110 up, so not a clue. Wonder whether it's something to do with OBS's server or Restream or something. So I do apologise if it is affecting the broadcast, but it should not from this point. Then again, I used to stream at about 7,000 kbps, which is what we're getting now, so might not look much different to how it used to. Anyway, these top two at the front, Luke Lucchese and Troy Dolinchek, they are running the show at the moment. Tristan Dinabrega is about 3 seconds behind, as you see there, with Ryan Ottens and Matt Hoyland for company. Now, Matt may be leading the Premier class here, Ed, but I don't think he's really going to worry too much about trying to get past these two cars in front, is he? He's just going to be happy to sit there, lead his class, and he's got a good 4 seconds over Nathan Crook.
Yeah, and that's what all he needs to do at this moment in time. But like you say, he's in the perfect position in the slipstream of some of the fastest drivers on the field, really just helping Matt Hoyland out. But That's not to say Matt isn't a quick driver in his own right. He's just put himself in the perfect position to build on the gap to the cars behind that don't have that luxury of the slipstream. As this is Graham Matthew, not the Porsche, the Lamborghini, sorry, at the back of this fight.
Oh.
From over up the inside, but the two cars very slow through the right hander, which is usually taken flat out. So he gets caught out by the checkup of the two Porsches and sees him involved in an incident that takes him into the pits.
What on earth were they doing there? I'm not sure if... I think
That
it was
corner's
Sean.
always flat out.
I think Sean Clark was trying to let his teammate through, but I mean, Graham went off the circuit though to try and avoid, and then obviously was not going to get it slowed down. But Sean was on the brakes there, and I mean that's not the place you want to be doing that, really.
Yeah, I know it looks bad for Graham there because he's almost barreled into them. But if he gets on the brakes at any point when the car is pitched into that right-hander, he's going to loop around and could easily take them all out. So he tries to do the best course of action as these two are coming to blows, aren't they? Simon Cheshire battling with Jaco Stein, not for class position, but just for position out on the circuit. And we love to see the drivers battling into class. It's great bragging rights, doesn't it?
Definitely. Simon Cheshire saying, no, you may be new to the championship, Sunshine, you may be in the elite class, but you are not coming through. And you can see the guys behind thinking better of it now. They've decided to have a go at pitting and try to have some sort of undercut. But
the car's ahead of Simon Cheshire as well, coming into the pits as well. Leaves a big gap between himself and Gianni Terhar just up the road, as you can see there. Gianni Terhar coming towards turn 2 with Alex Fretwell up ahead. Gianni has been slowly but surely reducing the deficit to the Ferrari that he's been trying to chase down to get up onto the Premier Class podium. As this is a change of position potentially for the elite class podium, as Tristan Dinnebrega and Ryan Ottens continue to trade places, all the while losing time to the duo out ahead.
I was just going to say, I thought Tristan Dinnebrega got enough of a run there on the exit to re-overtake Ryan Ottens, but he didn't quite get the run that he wanted. And that is a really tidy move, that, by Ryan Ottens. And Matt Hoyland can just sit there behind these guys and enjoy the show, to be honest with you. He really doesn't need to push past them or do anything over the top. Doesn't need to take any risks at this stage. He can just crack on and do his job, really. He's leading the class by a considerable margin now, 4 seconds back to Nathan Crook. Crook's teammate, John Ludbrook, is the one that's leading the Evo class, but there's a bunch of drivers yet to pit. As you can see on the left-hand side there are a number of them yet to pit in the Premier class. Caelan Bartlett in 3rd position in this class hasn't pitted, but Russell Jakes has. That shows you how far ahead Russell was earlier on for MRC 493. Here he is in the number 7 car. He's got a stop in hand.
As now the lead cars all coming into the pits. Luke Lucchese just ahead of Dolinshek, Dinnebrega, Ryan Ottens all slotting in behind. As that was the
Dinnebrega
270 of Dinnebrega, was it? I think just missing his pit box by the smallest amount. It's going to see him slow down. It's Luke Lucchese with a big gap now. Big gap to Troy Dolinshek.
Yeah, Dolinshek up on the jacks. Nobody else was up on the jacks then, so Dolinshek's taken tyres and nobody else around him has. And through is going to go Paul Cowlishaw in the Lamborghini. He goes by. Championship leader maybe making a mistake there, maybe just playing the game.
I think that's a mistake because he's lost a lot of time to those around him. Nearly 8 seconds by the looks of things in the pit time, around about that length. The difference between him and Luke Lucchese, and he's got a huge swathe of cars to try and get through if he's looking to win the race. I think he's done a mistake there because that's usually the length of pit stop we see in the endurance races, but in the sprints we do tend to see them at around about the 13-15 second mark, so no time to really take tyres in these sprints as opposed to in the endurance races.
No, it's a real shame that. Real shame that for Troy Dolinshek, but it happens. It's a very simple mistake to make. We'll have to see now whether him having fresh rubber on the car is going to help him go any quicker. Jack Wyborn has just gone way off the circuit. That's down at turn 2, I believe, before getting onto the Parabolica. He's had some sort of drama there. He did go past Scott Kostrick for a second. Oh, I do apologise, exploded at the wrong replay. He went past Scott Kostrick in the Porsche. He's going to dive to the right-hand side, I'm sure. And then he's just going to miss his braking point, maybe? Or is there going to be a bit of contact? Oh, he's just been spun away by Kostrick on the exit. Not sure if Scott left enough room on the inside or whether Jack ran wide into him. It's the tiniest of touches, and it eventually hooks him wide. As ooh, speaking of hooking it wide, Dolinczek's back in the pits actually, Ed.
Oh.
Wonder what's gone on here.
Speed on the way into the pit lane as well. Have an unsafe pit exit either way. But seeing him with what looks to be a stop-and-go penalty.
Yeah, Troy Dolinczek, championship leader. Drama here at the Hockenheimring in round 9 of the championship. He's got to sit there now and do nothing. Matt Hoyland is now on for an overall podium at the moment. He'll be over the moon with that one. Having a great run.
Not only affecting Troy for this first race, but also the second race, because he's out of contention for the reverse grid pole position. He's dropping through the field like a stone. Currently now 27th overall. Remember, it's the top 12 that get inverted. So as it stands, Matt Barnett will be on that reverse grid pole position. Troy Dolinczek still hasn't got up and running.
Still sat there. Wow. He's been there for 40. Yeah, it was a stop and go. 43 seconds in the end he was sat still for. What an absolute nightmare for Dolinczek, championship leader. That could really lose him some big points, not just in this race, but overall for the entire night, as you rightly pointed out. Ed, oh, dearie me. Rob McKee tries to follow Stephen Donnelly through there and get a cutback, has to back up, and Hussein Sarakadesla goes into the corner of him. Luckily, neither of them got properly turned around there. Well, that was a bit of a scary moment. Francois Brandet in there as well, then John Ludbrook. John was leading the...
Great first race.
Yeah, solid job so far by him. Great debut in the championship. It's not an easy championship to jump into at all. So he's been doing a really, really sterling job. This is Thomas Pugh in the Lamborghini, holding off Nathan Crook at the moment. Nathan's second in his class. And he is just sitting with the Lamborghini right now. Doesn't need to do anything to overtake him or get by in any way. He can happily just sit there and just play the game, because he's scoring big points in his class. Just needs to not get sort of caught up in whatever happens to Thomas Pugh here, because Thomas is just running his own race as well. They just happen to be on the same piece of circuit. That's pretty much all that brings them together here, isn't it, Ed?
Yeah, it seems to be the only thing that's keeping them close. Nathan Crook is putting a little bit more pressure on. I'll have a look at the timers through on the recent lap, and Nathan was marginally quicker, so that's been reduced the deficit to Thomas upon lap. But again, there's no real incentive to battle with Thomas from Nathan's point of view, just because he won't be scoring any more points.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to see the two cars close together on the circuit there. Matt Barnett and Joe Shapara are similarly close as well. Joe just 0.3 of a second behind Matt in the Lamborghini now, I should say. Giving him a good old run for his money. Trying everything he can to get close to the back of him. They now head down towards the hairpin once again, but it's Luke Lucchese still leading the race from Ryan Ottens. Tristan Dinobrega in third place. In the Premier class, it's Hoyland, Crook and Fretwell. And in the Evo class, it's still Russell Jakes leading Rob Mackay. And then Francois Brandet on his debut here, doing an awesome job, as we have discussed so far. Again, really sorry about the issue with the bitrate, everybody. Not a clue what is going on in causing that or causing the issues there, but it seems that even strangely at my end as well, I cannot actually preview the stream either. So I can't actually look at it and see how it's looking, because it just won't download it. It's almost as if my internet's running really slow, but it's not. I've just done another speed test and it's fine. I'm not going to go on about it too much, but obviously just in case the quality does drop, I want to justify why and apologise for it, because it's not good enough. As Paul Robson has got a bit of close attention there from James Bostock for a second there, Ed. That was mighty close, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, skinny as deep stuff as well. James Bostock continues to have a moment there, this time just ahead of Chris Keenan, who gets a great view of James mounting the sausage curb on the exit there, but doing brilliantly to hang on. Oh, flipping heck, that was high amount of stuff, because when the Porsche goes, it's so difficult to regain control.
Absolutely is. Troy Dolinczek, by the way, carving his way back through the field. He's just overtaken Wesley Van Rens. Stephen Cakebread went through as well during all of this. I think he's going to have him down into the hairpin here. He's going to cut over to the right-hand side. Late on the brakes goes Troy. Wesley, nice and respectful on the outside line, and Cakebread says, you know what, I'll have one of them and all, thanks very much, Wesley. Then Wesley gets back in front with a decent run off the corner. But yeah, Dolinczek making his way back up the field, but not enough yet to benefit from that reverse grid pole position, because he needs to be 12th. He's currently 31st.
here, and he's not going to be gaining any more points for gaining these positions out on the circuit because Yannis Alba is quite a ways off in the distance, and that's a big gap to try and chase down as well. Francois Brown-Day, his debut is just starting to take a turn for the worse there as he drops back from that podium position that he was in. We'll see exactly what happened to him.
Could say it's Francois Brand debut.
Oh.
Ha ha ha. Oh, well, I don't think there was anything in that, to be honest with you. He just ran a little bit wide on the exit. I don't think he expected... Great listening to that Lamborghini, the way that it just roars past the camera. Absolutely love it. Got Gianni Terhar also chasing Alex Fretwell as well, so there's more of a battle going on here. Gianni, of course, the championship leader in the Premier class at the moment in car 137. He's not going to be too disappointed with the 4th place, considering that he nearly didn't race tonight because of his issues with his wheel. So it's still good points to maintain the championship lead at least. A bit of damage limitation, you could call it. But don't forget, he's going to start ahead of the top 3 in the first result when the race begins for race 2. Obviously, he'll be switching around on the grid. That's what I'm trying to say. I couldn't get my words together. Into Mercedes battle here, Ed, as Jamal Gandor tries to defend from Tristan Engelstad. These two beefy V8s making a great racket together on the circuit. It's just like one rolling thunderstorm.
Yeah, there he goes. Tristan Engelstad, the better exit out that final corner. You can see him really soaring at the wheel, though, to try and get the car under control. There was a little bit of oversteer as he pitched it in, and this time understeer creeping in. So the car doesn't quite seem to be in the window where he's quite comfortable. We've seen him certainly having a much easier time of things earlier on in the season, but now he's just starting to struggle a little bit on the last couple of rounds. Same as well actually for his teammate Gianni Terhar, but Gianni is approaching podium finish. He's just trying to chase down Alex Fretwell at this moment in time.
And chase down indeed. He actually got a really good run on the exit of the hairpin. I saw the gap get really small, then really large again, and I think he broke early to try and get a slingshot out of the corner. Fretwell has put the car in the right place though, and Gianni Terhar can't do anything about that. He has a look down the inside to try and scare Fretwell out of it, but a great battle indeed, and Alex holds on to that podium position in his class at this moment in time. Luke Lucchese's going to be a happy boy though. He is absolutely flying at the top end of the order, and I think we are going to get 2 more laps here actually, Ed, because we've got 1 minute and 3/4 left to go. It's about 1 minute 37 for a lap here, so we are going to get 2 more laps as the timer indicates. So maybe 1 lap extra than some of these guys were expecting. Oh no, Robson into the back of, I believe, is that James Bostock? James Bostock hold on ahead of Gianni Terhar. This is a great scrap between these two for the final podium position in the class. Sweeping their way into the arena. We've got 6 seconds left on the clock, and Luke Lucchese does indeed begin another lap here at Hockenheim. Ryan Otten's in 2nd position. He's having a really good run here tonight, is Ryan, and Matt Hoyland leading the Premier class. He's got 2 elite drivers behind him, but he's really held his own here at the moment as Hoyland. What a solid night he's having so far.
Yeah, he's having a wonderful night there. His qualifying performance was brilliant, and then his racing has been top-notch as well. It could be the first time we see, I think, the first time we see a Premier class driver finish on the overall podium. Matt Hoyland having a great evening there, just ahead of Tristan Dinnerbrega, who is chasing him down, but this is the final lap we're on. There isn't a huge amount of time or overtaking opportunities for Tristan to get ahead of Matt Hoyland, but once more, there isn't any incentive for Tristan to do that because he's scoring points based on class position, not out on the circuit.
Yannis Albert in 7th place will be ruining the fact that Troy Dolinchek has had a nightmare race meeting here, but technically he's only going to finish 1 place ahead of him when it comes to the points. Yannis Albert is 16th overall after his earlier spin. Troy Dolinchek is down in 27th, but on the actual sheets for their individual classes, it's just 7th and 8th position. He's got to be careful not to run into the tower block that is the Mercedes just in front of him there. Tristan Engelstad has got ahead of Jamal Gandor, as you can see just there. But what's going to happen now is this man, Luke Lucchese, is going to come around the final corner, and after a very solid drive, he's going to win round 9 of the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship Luke Lucchese gets the job done. It's Ryan Ottens in second place.
What has been a race to forgetting quickly gets out of the way and out of the race, because that was not at all according to plan there. That drive-through penalty really hurt his chances and potentially took a big dent in his championship lead.
Well, it definitely could have done if Yannis Albert had not had a spin as well. He's just got to think about where his teammates end up. You've got to think about the drop scores as well, actually, because if you do have a rotten evening, drop scores could definitely come in to help you in the long run. There's Francois Brandet, final driver to cross the line, and we're going to get ourselves some results for round 9 of the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship. Let's have a look then at the elite class to start things off, because don't forget, they get scored points based on their class position, not overall position. And it's Luke Lucchese taking the win by 5.2 seconds in the elite class from Ryan Ottens and Tristan Di Nobrega. Paul Cowlishaw finishes in 4th place, with Thomas Pugh next up in 5th. Jaco Steyn, in his debut in the series, finishes in 6th, with Yannis Albert and Troy Dolinchek. Can you believe it? The last 2 in the class there, Ed, after what was a race to forget for both of them. But then we'll move on to the Premier class, shall we? Apologies, everybody. Ed has messaged me telling me he's just going to be away for a second, so I do apologise. It's Matt Hoyland who takes the win in the Premier class, with Nathan Crook and then Alex Fretwell in 3rd. Great battle with Gianni Terhar right to the end there. Simon Cheshire finishes in 5th place, with Matt Barnett next up in 6th position. Following them was Joe Chapara, with Tristan Engelstad in 8th. Jamal Gandor is 9th.
Car, it does really stand out for me. It's probably one of the best looking cars on the grid, which is certainly no small feat considering the just level of livery we have on display here, as we see the cars lining up on the grid for the second sprint of the evening.
Absolutely. You could see a lot of white cars there. I just updated the liveries. Alex Fretwell did message in the Discord and confirm that the old spec map was still on the car, so it wasn't quite displaying properly. Even still, it's Matt Barnett on pole position in the Lamborghini, with Jaco Steyn alongside him on the front row. Welcome to your debut, Jaco. Now we've got Simon Cheshire and Gianni Terhar on the second row of the grid. Gianni was actually messaging Alex in Discord saying what a fantastic battle they had in that first race. They were really enjoying themselves. Fretwell is 5th, with Nathan Crook in 6th position. Then it's Thomas Pugh alongside Paul Cowlishaw on row 4. Then it's Tristan Di Nobrega and Matt Hoyland, Ryan Ottens and Luke Lucchese. And the rest of the grid will now filter through your screen as they make their way round the end of the lap. And we'll get ready for round 10 of the championship. But main takeaways from that first one, Ed, there was a lot of hard battling, a few little bits of contact here and there, but so different this place to Gilles Villeneuve where we were last time.
Yeah, complete world away from what we were seeing earlier on, especially last time out at, you said, Gilles Villeneuve circuit. Now we have Matt Barnett to lead the field with Jaco Steyn on his debut race meeting on the front row alongside him. And what can Jaco do from there? Obviously being in the elite class, you would expect him to get the better of Matt Barnett being in the Premier class, but that doesn't always seem to be the case. Around by one of the many Porsches that we have on display here tonight.
Yeah, Russell Jake's involved in that as well. He, of course, won the Evo class in race 1 tonight. So he has to be careful as well. Donnelly's off big time, one way then the other. And somehow he's kept that out of the wall. I don't know how he's not hit something there, but Donnelly doing a great job of not smacking into a barrier of some description. But wow, everybody really scrambling in this opening lap to try and find what they can. But at the very front of the field, you know, Jaco Steen has dropped back a bit here. And it's actually Matt Barnett still leading the way from Simon Cheshire, Alex Fretwell and Nathan Crook.
I was going to touch on it actually. Jaco Steen having a pretty nightmarish start to the race, and it's just a case of him getting caught out, I think, by Matt Barnett. And then Simon Cheshire dove up his inside to take the position. And I think that let the whole procession of other cars sort of an avenue through up the inside. Alex Fretwell back up there into the podium places. Nathan Crook as well, currently just in behind him. And it is Premiers leading the way as several cars coming in for the early pit stop. Yanis Alba in amongst them.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them in the pit lane right now. Yanis Albert, Tristan Dino Brega, Ryan Ottens, Luke Lucchese. James Bostock is also in the pit lane, but I think that's for damage. There's a few of them all trying to take advantage of the early stop that could potentially come out and then go on to win this race, but it depends where they come out into traffic, I suppose. Side by side there, Matt Hoyland and Gianni Terhaar for 5th and 6th position in the Premier class. They remain side by side, trying not to hit Cowlishaw's Lamborghini as there's another check-up on the inside. That was Jaco Steen trying to look down the inside of Nathan Crook. And look at this in the background. Side by side here, Troy Dolinchek is now ahead of Jamal Gandor. Troy Dolinchek has gained 15 places in a lap and a half. Amazing start.
So Jamal Gandor chasing down Troy Dolinchek, but Troy's actually had a great start to this race, up 15 places so far, probably taking into account a lot of the drivers ahead of him coming into the pits, but at the moment Troy is doing as best he can, I think, with the hand he was dealt following that first race.
Jack Wyborn's just had a little bit of a drama there coming into the tight left-hander, but he's got going again. Seems like the car's got a bit of damage though. It doesn't want to behave itself. I'm not quite sure if he's had some big dramas. Oh no, his teammate Russell Jakes had an issue as well. Don't forget he won the race in the Evo class in round 9, and now he's trying to recover without getting in anybody's way. Oh dearie me, what on earth has happened here to Russell? This is a big problem. Let's have a look. Was he involved in anybody else here? He's got his teammate just in front. And who is that behind? That's one of the P-Tech GP2 Porsches. Oh, he's gone off, and then he's had a wobble this way and that way, and he's trying to get the car stopped. He's trying to get it stopped, and he's done a really good job there, actually, to be fair to him. He did what he could in the circumstances. Good Lord. Here's Cowlishaw side by side with Jaco Steen. They remain right with each other as they come down into the hairpin. Ooh, a bit of a wiggle there. The back end stepping out slightly. And Jaco now holds that inside line, but Cowlishaw, you know, has a really good sweep around the outside line. It looks very tasty from where he is. He's actually not quite got the overlap as they go through the right-hand kink. Can he then cut underneath him one way then the other? Is he later on the brakes? I think he's going to try it. Doesn't quite get his nose down the inside. Thomas Pugh's got a great view of this as well from behind. This is actually for the lead in the elite class as well. So wow, big battling going on. Matt Barnett's loving life here, Ed. He's right up at the front on his way to an overall victory if it stays like this, but still 25 minutes left in the race left to go, so still a long way to go.
Yeah, but he's got a very comfortable margin to the cars in behind who are stuck battling and slowing each other down, as well as all those that are trying to chase them down as well. I'm going to keep my eyes though on the pace of some of the drivers that pitted earlier, say sort of seeing what they can do. I know Yanis Alba was one of the earliest cars coming into the pits, so eyes will be firmly on him, as well as the other RDSA Esports drivers, Luke Lucchese and Tristan Dino Brega.
Dolinchek's in. Dolinchek into the pit lane now for RDSA Esports. And there's a bunch of other drivers in as well. Gianni Terhaar, Nathan Crook, Jamal Gandor, Rob Mackay, also Ashley Brooks going into the pits. We're riding on board there with Alex Kernratz in the P-Tech GP2 car. He's got James Rankin just ahead of him for CHR Motorsports. And then you've got Chris Keenan in the MRC 493 car just behind him. These are the lead two in the Evo class. John Ludbrook is only about 3 seconds back from these guys, but there's Robin Aston between them and him. And we've got Danny Weir and his teammate Alex Boniface right together. 24 and 21 places gained for these pairs so far, with Graham Matthew in there with 19 positions gained. Sean Clark, 17 positions gained as well. Obviously, those numbers may stabilise a little bit later on in the race based on other drivers having their pit stops. Look at that on the brakes there by Sean Clark in the number 68 Porsche. Really late on the brakes. Oh, he's overdone it on the exit, though. That was brave as you like from Sean Clark. That big send.
Love a big sender, which I'd love to see drivers really pulling out all of the moves in their arsenal to try and get the better run.
Oh, there you go.
Diving up the inside. Here we go. Paul Robson. He's on back. I love that from Paul. Also, great respectful driving, but neither of them got involved into contact. Ooh,
a bit of a hop skip and a jump over the curb on the exit there as well. But yeah, we need to keep our eye on the drivers that have pitted so far. Ryan Ottens is the leader in the elite class of those cars that has pitted. Yannis Albert is just behind him. He's got Matt Hoyland right in front on the road, but not in class. And they are, well, there's not many of them in the elite class tonight, but there's a few drivers that are further down in the other classes that have pitted, that aren't showing up on the timing yet. I'll get my words out one way or another. Cowlishaw has now got past Jaco Stain for the moment as they run onto the back straight. Oh, Fretwell and Cheshire rubbing panels with each other down the Parabolica. Cheshire just kept coming over on him. Oh, let's not do this, boys. Oh, come on, that's getting silly now. Oh, they don't need to do it. I think Simon initially was the one coming over to the left a little bit far, and then Alex has gone with him. Oh, the two of them are just locked together. Oh, that got a bit silly there. I didn't like that. And now Simon's come all the way back over the road. I'm not sure who was more to blame there, but that was very unnecessary.
And there's a huge plume of smoke up ahead. But
oh no, and now in front.
Never mind. Now in front there's an incident. You can see actually another car just in the front of our shot involved in an incident.
That was Jack Wyborn, lap down at this point, but Jaco Stein just got caught up in that there. I think the guys were just all compacting together behind him. He was slow on the apex and then got turned around from it, but I didn't agree with the contact that we were seeing there down the Parabolica into the hairpin. That was not good.
Yeah, Jaco Stein not having a debut race to remember, unfortunately. It's just not been his day. He's had some great pace though so far, so still some opportunities to climb back up the order. To be fair, a lot of the elite class drivers have had sort of subpar races here tonight. It's been mainly the Premier class that have been benefiting from it.
Absolutely, you can see just how close all of this was here, but you've got Jaco Stain just behind us there, on board with Paul Cowlishaw. You'll see that due to the incident ahead, you'll get into the smoke any second now. Jaco gets held up. Actually, to be fair, Jaco bounces off the back of Cowlishaw's Lamborghini, doesn't he?
He does. He just takes a little bit too much pace in there, in behind Cowlishaw, but coming into the pits now, he's going to drop back to the rear end of the elite class, unfortunately. Although the car's passing him by. Ryan Otten's just ahead of Yannis Albert. Troy Donchik, Luke Casey, Tristan Dinabrega in behind as well. So Yannis still making some ground on his championship rivals, Troy Donchik and Luke Casey. Again, maybe not as much as he was hoping for, because he himself has been struggling so far this race, but still waiting for cars up ahead to go into the pits. Oh dear, no. As soon as we say Yannis Albert has opportunities to gain on his rivals, he has a moment, a mistake potentially, and now loses out.
He got headbutted by Sean Clark there. Sean was amongst all of these guys in the elite class, and then Yannis was on the outside. I think Sean was a bit flustered with how many of them were all around him, and he's just headbutted the back of the Lamborghini, I'm afraid. There's a lot of them still pouring past him as he's just trying to stay out of the way, in fairness to him, but yeah, it just went a little bit late on the brakes, and now all those cars that were around Yannis Albert are up the road. It was Hoyland ahead of Ottens, Dolinchek, Lucchese, and then Yannis Albert. You can see Yannis has now dropped away from these guys a little bit. Not massively, but enough. But I'll tell you what. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, it's a case of the curse once again striking, and what was I just saying about Yannis, that he was able to gain on some of his championship rivals, and then gets involved in an incident, sees him drop back in behind them. Meanwhile, Matt Barnett, not a care in the world, out ahead with, well, nearly 7 seconds to Paul Cowlishaw in behind, but we could still see a Sumo Racing car on the top step of the podium here. If it's not going to be Yanis, then Paul's certainly putting a good case forward for his hopes of a first race victory.
Absolutely, he's got Simon Cheshire behind him as well, then Thomas Pugh, so he's got a car between himself and his next elite class rival, Alex Fretwell, in there as well in the Ferrari 296. Then Tristan Engelstad, you could just hear the Mercedes roaring up to the camera there. He's got James Rankin, then Alex Koenraerts, who is leading the way in the Evo class. He's got some decent company in front of him there. James is in the Premier class, so he doesn't need to worry too much about him. But it's getting spicy here, Ed, because the elite class drivers are catching up to the Evo drivers and Premier class drivers that are yet to pit in this race. They're pitting much later, but the likes of Dolincek, Ottens, Lucchese and Albert are all closing in on this lot. We'll go on board with Luke Lucchese, and this is how it looks from his point of view. You've got Ryan Ottens directly in front, then Troy Dolincek, but then you've got two Premier class drivers, Matt Hoyland, who has pitted, and Paul Robson, who actually, to be fair, has pitted as well, but Paul Robson has pitted for a lot longer, and he did that on lap 1, so I'm not quite sure what's happened there for Paul Robson, but he's in front of these guys. And then you've got two of the Evo class drivers, Alex Boniface in the Audi and then Stephen Catebread in the Ferrari, and you can see already there's checkups here this way and that way. Hoyland on the inside line there with Ottens on the outside, nearly 3 wide as well, to be fair to Alex Boniface. He makes the right choice there and gets out of it.
Yeah, he does. It's all about choosing your battles. Oh, flipping heck, this is close, isn't it? Look at all the Porsches blitzing on through turn 1. Troy Dolincek just ahead of the chasing pack in behind, but oh, that was a little bit too close for comfort for some of those drivers, I think, and they're still going at it. It's up the inside now. Matt Hoyland making a cheeky little move. Needs to be careful though to not get done on the run through the Parabolica. Flipping heck though, everywhere you look there's drama and action, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. This is Paul Robson really trying to defend his position as best he can here, with Matt Hoyland side by side with him. They could potentially be and end up battling for the lead in the Premier classes. Oh, Robson's gone straight on. Oh, it was a little bit scrappy by Robson to lead up to that as well. He was the one that slotted in between Dolincek and Hoyland in the first place and was very close to cutting the nose off him. And then unfortunately Robson's then made another mistake and gone too deep into the hairpin. It's down the inside. Oh, Yanis Albert really demanding stuff there by Yanis. Had to throw it down the inside. He can see the cars in front of him getting away and getting through this pack. So he's had to throw himself at this now to try and stick with them, hasn't he?
A race of attrition for a lot of our championship protagonists, hasn't it, Chaz? They've just been not really at the races, which does mean, of course, we will see a closer battle later on as Alex Koenraerts now coming into the pits from the podium in the Evo class. He comes as Stephen Catebread. We saw him having issues earlier on in the race, and it seems to me it's just been involved in another little incident here.
Ashley Brooks has just had a drama as well, actually, just before this. I think he's done this on his own. Not quite sure if he's just going to clip the curb. He had a drama here in qualifying, didn't he, at the start of the session? Wow. Hits that same curb and again hits the barrier. So unfortunate stuff for Ashley Brooks. Catebread eventually into the pit lane, but took his time getting in after having to recover from the spin. This is Chris Keenan. Finds himself in the lead of the Evo class at the moment, but he's one of the drivers that hasn't pitted. We'll show you on the left-hand side. Still wait for Cowlishaw and Pugh to come in the Lamborghinis. The whole top 6 in the Premier class yet to pit, and then the top 4 drivers in the AM class, the Evo class, I do apologise. Keenan, Ludbrook, Van Rens and Bartlett. Wesley Van Rens has been quite under the radar again tonight, which is apt considering the stealthiness of the Ferrari, but he's not been one of the drivers that stood out to us this evening. I think that's his sort of gist, though, isn't it, really? He's been leading the championship, he's been right up there in the championship, but he's never been the one that's caused a lot of drama.
No, he's been staying out of trouble, which is always good for him. I think he had a little bit of a moment, I believe it was Sebring, where he didn't quite have the best of evenings and that saw him drop back. But other than that, he has had a pretty strong championship so far. I was about to say, keep your eyes on Troy Dolincek, because he is the highest positioned car that is pitted. All the others ahead of him are yet to pit, so this will give us a good idea of how Troy's recovery drive after the issues that he suffered in that first race is going. As we can see now, rounding out of the final corner, Matt Barnett and Alex Fretwell are expecting to see up and running. Paul Cowlishaw as well is currently on his way out of pit lane, but it could be close,
It's going to be very close. But But Kalashaw still slots just
With Troy
in front.
Dolenchek just ahead of them. So that's a very good recovery drive from Troy Dolenchek, because that sees him currently second position overall in the A class. It doesn't matter if he wins the race. All it matters is that he gets ahead of poor Kalashaw to score maximum points in his class.
The fact that Dolenchek has pitted for as long as the guys around him and is somehow in front of them is just remarkable. It absolutely is. And look at this, already down the inside of Kalashaw. The confidence of this man is unbelievable, but the thing is, he's got the pace to match it as well. Side by side on the exit of the corner. Ooh, nearly rubbing panels, boys. Very close stuff. Troy not wanting to give an inch there to the Lamborghini. Kalashaw's still going to be on the inside, and he's going to brake later. He's going to try and make it work. Has to slam on, though, to not run wide into the 217 Porsche. Dolenchek's going to have the inside line here, but look at that. He's been forced to just dab the brakes, tuck the car in, still side by side as they head now towards the Mercedes arena. This is great racing, but Dolenchek's going to have the inside line, and so Luke Lucchese's going to try and go through as well. Backs out of that one as to not hit the Lamborghini. Great respect between them, but Dolenchek takes the lead in the elite class, and very, very rightly so. Really well-deserved stuff. Kalashaw put up a hell of a defence there, though, Ed.
Yeah, it was, but as soon as that car gets alongside you, just know that Dolenchek's got the racecraft to put his car, even in unfavourable positions, into areas where he can then benefit in the following corners by just keeping his car alongside enough to know when the inside line is coming in his favour to really take advantage. And we saw that there, just on the sort of very fast right-hander, having the inside line through there basically ends any side-by-side issues there, as Simon Cheshire going back onto racing line out the pit lane and getting in the midst of a battle between himself and Luke Lucchese.
Scared the life out of him
too hard, but obviously if he loses out to all of these elite class cars in behind, then he's going to have Alex Fretwell breathing down his neck.
He scared the life out of all of us there. I think Simon Cheshire dives over to the left-hand side as now Luke Lucchese goes for the inside line in the RDSA Esports Porsche. Simon Cheshire doesn't fight that too hard. He tries to make sure he's got a good run off the exit. That was tidy stuff. Really, really tidy stuff that by Simon Cheshire. Still second place in the Premier class. Alex Koenraerts has now re-inherited the lead in the Evo category. He's got 3.2 seconds over Ludbrook, who you can just see in the background, just there. And then Rob Mackay is next up. As Tristan Dinobrega, I think, has disconnected, Ed. He's just disappeared.
Oh dear, what's happened here? Has it just vanished? Is it not going to be reconnecting at all? I can't see anything. I'll have a look and see if we've had any sort of connection issues in the session for him. Nothing's come up yet, so there is still a chance for him to reconnect, but at the moment it's not looking good for him.
Nathan Crook here having a fight with Joe Shapara, the two of them weaving this way and that way, trying to get one over on each other. Joe's run a little bit wide there. Nathan now puts his car back down the inside again, uses all of the curb on the inside. They're side by side on the exit. Oh, dearie me, Nathan not leaving all the room in the world there. Look at that. Shapara's all the way over on the white line. Nathan's got the inside line for turn one, though, and he's going to make that work. Can Joe get the run on the exit, though? Because he's got a bit of a compromised line now as Nathan. And behind them, you've got Gianni Terhar in the Porsche, and then Tristan Engelstad in the Mercedes as well. Crook moves across, covers the inside line. We'll go on board with Engelstad. He's just gone around the outside of his teammate. What's the run like for this Mercedes? Ooh, not great, actually. Bit of a wiggle on the exit. And, well, Nathan Crook moves up into 5th place in class. Joe Shapara holds on to 6th, and now the Quad Dash racing cars are glued to each other down towards the hairpin.
Yeah, just had confirmation as well that Tristan Dinobrega has had disconnect from the session, which is crying shame, but again, it's similar to a mechanical fault in real-life racing that causes a DNF. It's the same with iRacing internet connection issues. If, say, you lose connection to the session, it's essentially the case of an engine failure in the real world. You're going to be just taken out of proceedings through no fault of your own.
Absolutely. Ooh, Paul Robson got a chunk of curb there. Really threw himself up that one. As, Joe Shapara's off. Whoa, Joe's off in the wall big time. Big hit into the barrier for Joe Shapara. And look at that by Jamal Gandor. If he turns that into an overtake, that's disgusting down the inside of Rob Aston. Amazing stuff by Jamal Gandor. Wow, how did he make that work? Rob says not in your life, have that. Sends it back up the inside. Goodness me. That was remarkable by Jamal Gandor.
Let's have a look at this. So, trying to get the car pitched in, you can see the incident happening up ahead.
Oh, he's got the run already.
He's got the run already and is already looking to the inside to take further evasive action. while also making the move stick. But then look at this fight back up the inside by Robin Aston. The gap appears for only the briefest of moments, but the Porsche so good under braking. And that was a wonderful little fight back by Robin. Didn't take that overtake sitting down.
Fantastic stuff by those boys, really showing us all how it's done. It's still Matt Barnett leading this race then here at Hockenheim in round 10 of the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship. But at the moment he's got Troy Dolinchek, Luke Lucchese and Paul Cowlishaw closing him down. Then it's Ryan Otten, Simon Cheshire, Yanis Albert, Thomas Pugh, Alex Fretwell and Matt Hoyland completing the top 10. That's all the cars in that shot there, in that big train. And that is the top 6 in the elite class and the top 4 in the Premier class. We've got John Ludbrook leading the way. Oh, Yanis Albert. Where's Yanis Albert gone? Did he just stop then? Did I just miss that?
Gone. Straight
what?
on.
No way. So Yanis Albert, one of the championship protagonists, out of this race very suddenly in round 10 of the championship. I was just about to start thanking the sponsors, but I think some of the drivers will be thanking their lucky stars right now. Yanis Albert out of the race. Not a clue what is going on there. We'll have to wait and see whether he confirms anything in Discord afterwards. There's been a drama for Matt Hoyland, who now comes into the pits. What on earth has gone on here?
Race has just sort of turned upside down in about 2 minutes, hasn't it?
Yeah.
What on earth's been going on?
Well, Barnett still leads. He's got Dolinchek right behind him now. He could happily, I mean, well, not happily, but he could easily give this place up and not have to worry about it, because he'll still be leading his class. Dolinchek will lead the race outright somehow. He's gained 23 places. It's just vile. You can't stop this man. But great drive again by Matt Barnett here. He's already won. He did a wonderful job, let's say, last time round at Gilles Villeneuve. He hasn't taken a win so far yet this evening in class. So it was Hoyland, Crook and Fretwell in the Premier class earlier. Look at this, though.
Side by side. Look at Troy
stuff.
Dolinchek. He's got his nose ahead now. Matt Barnett, could he fight back? No, he decides to think better of it and sits in behind
Good on
our
him.
new race leader, Troy Dolinchek.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Troy Dolinchek continues to impress here in the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship. We've got Engelstad and Fretwell here having a great old scrap again. Mercedes versus Ferrari. It's like being back in 2018 as these two are right together. Gianni Terhar not far behind them not far behind them either, I should say. Struggling to get my words out a little bit tonight. These guys very close together. There's only 1.9 seconds between the top two in the Evo class as well. John Ludbrook here, 1.9 seconds ahead of Alex Kernratz, two Porsches. Rob Mackay behind Jaco Stein as well. He's third in the Evo class right now. But it's looking quite settled in the Premier class, so long as the drivers just keep their heads on here with the drivers around them, because we've got Matt Barnett leading the way. He's got 3 cars between himself and then Simon Cheshire, and Simon has then got a good 6 seconds back to Nathan Crook for Ludcrook Racing in the Porsche. So each of those guys just need to run their own race here now, don't they, Ed?
They really do, and it is, like you say, easier said than done, because you can easily get dragged into other people's battles and races and worry about what they're doing. But at the moment, Nathan Crook, he's got a sizable gap to the cars behind with about 5.5 minutes still to go in this race. As long as he knuckles down, he shouldn't have to worry too much about any assaults from behind. Gianni Terhar, though, and Tristan Engelstad having a bit of a better race here in the second time of asking than in the first one. It just wasn't quite working out for them. And their form at the start of the season has started to drop off in quite a noticeable way, hasn't it, Chaz? And I wonder really what's been the reason for it. Is it maybe just the cars or the drivers just not quite being as suited to the circuits?
Yeah, I think each circuit is such a massive challenge in cars like this. You know, these cars can sometimes feel like they're so on the edge that you can get to one track and just not have the confidence there, or the car doesn't quite suit the behaviour of certain corners or the way that the circuit undulates. You know, a place like Hockenheim, it looks very flat, and most of it is, but there are still a few bumps and rises and bits of off-camber and on-camber corners here and there, and it can be a massive challenge to these cars that are so downforce dependent, and there's such high momentum in these cars as well. Like GT3 cars, sure, they don't weigh a massive amount, but as race cars go. You know, they're about 1.5 tons, so they are quite chunky race cars. So you do have to think a lot about inertia and momentum when you're racing them. And there are certain circuits that just don't suit them at all. Ryan Ottens has got a great run here on Paul Cowlishaw. Paul went a little bit deep out of turn 2, and then through turn 3 he had a bit of a wiggle as well. And right now, the Porsche is tucked right up behind the back of the Lamborghini. Dives to the left-hand side. I say dives, it was a very elegant dive, wasn't it? It's very smooth. Round the outside he goes. Later on the brakes, naturally, in the Porsche. Turns it in. Fantastic respect by Paul. Gives him plenty of room. Paul gets a tidy exit, though.
Does Ryan Ottens, just, I think, giving him a little bit too much space on the inside to compromise his own exit. And that saw him lose out. As Alex Fretwell struggles a little bit on the exit there. And you can see, look at Engelstad, he almost looked to go around the outside on the grass to overtake Alex there. Very, very strange moment there, but Alex again now having to defend pretty strongly from Tristan, who's looking this way and that way, trying to get around Alex, but at the moment it's just not working out for him. And you can see the Mercedes with the grunt out of the corners, able to close up, but then through, just struggling a little bit to get the car pitched in, the Mercedes. Not quite as comfortable as the Ferrari. Is no slouch in a straight line, so while the Mercedes, that is its strongest suit of cards, it's not really up against a car that is weak in that regard either.
Yeah, apologies for any cuts in and out, everybody, by the way. I think we've established over multiple broadcasts over the last week or so that Discord is just being a pain in our backsides recently. I'm not quite sure what connection issues there are. Maybe something at my end, I don't know. But I'm sure you can all agree the bitrate and everything visually has seemed fine so far and has done all season, but every so often there just seems to be the odd issue here and there. They say fiber's reliable. Ha! Funny. Alex Fretwell, Engelstad and Tahar glued to each other in another fantastic scrap here in the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship. We've got battles everywhere we look all of the time in this series, Ed. It's such a joy to cover it, isn't it? Because there's just constant cars on track. I mean, we started with, what, 40 cars? We've still got 35 on the circuit right now. Tristan Dinabrega has reconnected and got going again.
We were, so good to see he's still out there. He should still score points, I think. They have to finish a certain percentage of the leaders, but I think that's still going to be met by Tristan Dinabrega. So in these races where there aren't as many elite class drivers as we're used to seeing, he won't lose as many points, which is going to be all important for the championship.
Absolutely. In it to win it, quite literally. We go back to this though, Paul Cowlishaw and Ryan Ottens. These two are battling for a podium position in the elite class right now. Ryan Ottens had a great run earlier on and finished in second place outright in the earlier race, so he wants his second podium of the evening. Paul Cowlishaw hasn't scored one yet tonight, so he wants one instead. And we've got the white flag in the air there. It's Troy Dolinchek leading the way for RDSA Esports. Luke Lucchese with him as well. Luke's been really on form recently, hasn't he, Ed? He's really turned it on. He's having a solid time. Away from the odd incident here and there that was not his fault, he's been right on the money.
Really has been. He's been having a great time of things so far this season. And him and his teammates have been just right up there and been the class of the field. And while it is sad to see that we haven't had too many battles between other drivers with them, it is just a mark of how consistently strong they've been. But then Mark Barnett as well for Let's Amiga. Just what a drive from him as well. Getting what is set to be, I think, his first victory in the Premier class, and also an overall podium. Wonderful stuff.
I think he got one at Gilles Villeneuve. Just looking back.
So one at Gilles Villeneuve, was it?
Yes, yeah, the second and a first at Gilles Villeneuve last time out did Matt Barnett, so he's going to do it again and get another one, but he's been very consistent in this class. But I tell you what, one thing that is consistent in this championship is this man, Troy Dolinchek. He had a nightmare start to the evening with that penalty in the earlier race, and since then he has just looked absolutely unstoppable. Somehow comes through from 25th on the grid, and Troy Dolinchek wins round 10 of the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship. What a drive that is. Luke Lucchese second. Matt Barnett takes the win in the Premier class. Very well done to Matt. He finishes ahead of Paul Cowlishaw, who gets a podium. Simon Cheshire gets second place in class as well. He'll be over the moon with that one. Very well done to Simon. And Nathan Crook takes a podium in class as well. That's his second podium of the night. for Nathan Crook, the only driver in the Premier class to get 2, and his teammate John Ludbrook, he takes the win in the Evo class. Lovely, lovely stuff for Ludcrook Racing tonight, Ed.
Wonderful stuff, like you say, from Ludcrook Racing there to get the class victory in the Evo class. Wonderful stuff by John Ludbrook. Alex Cornerot's there for GP2, the second place on the board. Some important championship points for them as well. Still, wonderful stuff by this man, Troy Dolinchek, who's just going to come off the circuit now, but that was a great drive, wasn't it, from him, recovering after the setback that he suffered at the first race of the evening, to come back and win in the second one. That is a very, very strong drive.
Yeah, absolutely mega stuff. Absolutely mega by Troy Dolinchek. An amazing victory that from, like I say, 25th on the grid. He played the game, pitted when he needed to, made his way through the pack. I mean, at the end of the first lap, I think he'd gained 13 positions. So he just did what he needed to do, kept it out of trouble, and cracked on from there. We look here at Graham Matthew and Sean Clark, the last 2 drivers to cross the line. They'll complete the race for us here at Hockenheim. But another very entertaining night of racing is complete here in the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship. Another quick shout out to our sponsors. Thanks very much to Kame, to Keenan Eco Energy, to Medius and AB Designs as well. Let's have a look at some results then, shall we, everybody? Let's go through the elite class for round 10 of the championship. Troy Dolinchek takes the win, a second and a half ahead of his teammate Luke Lucchese, who really is on form at the minute. Paul Cowlishaw gets a podium in the elite class as well. Then it's Ryan Ottens in 4th position ahead of Thomas Pugh. Very under the radar tonight was Thomas, but again, more strong championship points. Jaco Stain with a pretty decent debut, all considered. And then Tristan Dinabrega 2 laps down, while Yanis Albert does not finish the race. Ed, why don't you take it away with the Premier class, my friend?
Thank you very much. And it is Matt Barnett ahead of Simon Cheshire. What a drive that was as well by Matt, to be fair to him. He benefited from the reverse grid, but then took great advantage by managing the race brilliantly from the word go to win the Premier class. Just ahead of Simon Cheshire, who himself was involved in a few battles here and there, but still did great to hang on to that second position ahead of then Nathan Crook, with Alex Fretwell in 4th. Giant Tahara and Tristan Engelstad having a better second race than the third for Quad Dash Racing, finishing 5th and 6th. Ahead of James Rankin and Joe Spara. Then we have Paul Robson in 9th, ahead of James Bostock, who rounds out the top 10. Followed by 11th place Stephen Donnelly, with Hussein Sarakardesla in 12th place, with Gary Mitchell 13th, Jamal Gandor 14th, and then drivers finishing a lap down are Robin Aston, Matt Hoyland, Jack Wyborn and Scott Kostrick. Those last 2 drivers finishing, I think, classed as non-finishers.
Thanks very much, Ed. We'll move on to the Evo class, where John Ludbrook takes a class victory, 1.1 seconds clear of Alex Koenerarts. Alex really tried to push it to the end. Rob Mackay, another podium for him for DXT Motorsports, ahead of Wesley Van Rens and Russell Jakes, who completes the top 5. Then it was Caelan Bartlett for Aura Motorsports Omega, I should say, and then it was the DXT Motorsports Academy squadron. I was going to say Francois Brandet next up, with Danny Weir and Alex Boniface. I'm going to have to relearn how to speak English before and the next round of the championship. And now to top it all off, Spotify stopped because I've spoken too long. Love you, Spotify. Chris Keenan finishes in 10th position in class, ahead of Graham Matthew and Sean Clark, while the 2 cars that did not classify were Stephen Catebread and Ashley Brooks. So, we'll have a chat with some drivers, shall we, Ed, as we usually do. See who we've got to have a ganders with this time round, while we get some lovely, lovely slow-mo going on here. Let's have a look at how some of the drivers finished that one then. We haven't had a chat, actually, for a little bit, with Matt Hoyland, who we're going to drag into the box. Matt, the first race of the night, absolutely lovely stuff in class. The second one, not so much, but that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes, isn't it, in these sorts of races?
Yeah, I think I'm just cursed for race 2 at the minute. Last week was the same. I'm not. These reverse grids aren't endearing themselves to me at the minute at all. But you know, it is what it is. I seem to just be at wrong place at wrong time all race. But yeah, never mind. At least I got 1 win out of it.
Absolutely. Well, you said in the YouTube chat earlier on that you were worried about the fact that you didn't mess up qualifying, but I suppose it must be a bit of a confidence boost at least to stay up there during the race itself.
Yeah, I had really surprising pace today. Like, obviously to qualify P6 in itself, I was like, okay, this unusual. Like even getting in front of Giannis, which I know Giannis doesn't enjoy it, but I'm still going to take that as a huge win for me to qualify in front of Giannis. But then to manage to move forward as well was just completely unexpected to me. So it just makes it doubly disappointing that I couldn't capitalise on it and get a double good result, because that seems to have been my downfall this season. Like the pace is there, but I just can't string two races together at the minute. But again, it's a positive pace wise, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of the elements of a race like this, when you've got a field full of so many drivers as well, it can often be outside of your control when you go into a race like this. So it's difficult to always manage it outside of your own pace, isn't it, when you come into these meetings?
Yeah, I mean, literally all you can do personally is try and get yourself comfortable and stay out of trouble best you can. But ultimately, with obviously they are big grids, I think this is the smallest one of the season, and yet it's still 40 cars, something like that. So you can only do so much. But yeah, obviously it don't even have to be anything sort of nasty or anything. Someone could just have a moment, and they may even be spinning on their own, but if they just happen to tap your car, which is what happened on the last lap, which it got me DQ'd.
Right.
But, well, obviously, if someone's having their own spin and they touch you, that's an automatic 4X. So, yeah, unfortunately, that dropped me down even further. But yeah, never mind. It is what it is.
Well, next time out, we go to Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, returning to the 1 hour race format. Do you prefer those when it comes to the sort of on the night action?
It all depends on how comfortable I'm feeling. If I'm happy in the car and in the track, then yeah, I think the longer races do suit me, because I tend to be able to settle down quite well. But obviously, if I'm off the pace, then the shorter races give you a bit more chance to maybe get into a place that you shouldn't be on outright speed. But we'll see. I haven't actually driven Catalonia at all on iRacing so far. I do know the track, obviously, from other games and things, so hopefully I'll be able to pick it up pretty quickly.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed for you, Matt, for more results like you had in race 1 tonight. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before you go?
Yeah, I'll just give a shout out to DXT as usual. Obviously, we've got us newbie Francois with us this evening. He did really well for his first time out, so
he did.
We'll have a shout out for him. Aside from that, it's no one else really. Just us guys all messing about and trying his best.
Fair play, Matt. Well, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us, mate, and we'll see you at Catalunya. Have a good evening.
Cheers, guys. See you later.
Cheers. Well, Matt Hoyland, like we saw there, Ed, he got both sides of the coin tonight, really, didn't he, unfortunately? He had a great race 1 and then race 2 ended up disqualified at the end.
Yeah, it's a shame, but sometimes that's the way these races go, isn't it? The second one is always seemingly a little bit more frantic and with a bit more incidents with drivers trying to make up for poor performances in the first race to the second race, but still good to see that you can look on the bright side.
Absolutely, and you have to continue moving forward, I suppose, in the championship as tough as this one. We'll speak to the driver that finished second in class in race 2 there. We owed him an interview from earlier on in the season. Simon Cheshire joins us in the box. Simon, welcome to the booth. You must be pretty pleased with how that second race went, because that looked mighty tough at points. Oh, I can't hear Simon, unfortunately. Are you there, Sunshine? Oh, Dan McCauley or Simon Povey's going to kill me because I called him Sunshine.
I was about to say he's had the Sunshine word.
He's had that. He's had a Sunshine Nell. What we'll do is we'll very quickly jump to Alex Fretwell, who we'll have a chat with. Alex had a 3rd place in class in the first race tonight. Alex, apologies on the spec map front, first off, but you must have enjoyed that, because every time we looked at you, you had a car around you and you were battling with someone.
Yeah, no problem. I got a bit creative with Photoshop a bit bored this afternoon. I can't really remember much, to be honest, apart from Gianni being behind me, which seems to be, when he's not winning, he's stuck behind me, so I'm trying to do everyone a favour. Just absolutely flat out. I'm drenched, just giving everything. And then, everything sort of had a bit of a traffic jam at the hairpin halfway through the second race and picked up a bit of damage. From that point, it was just trying to bring it home. But Gianni and Tristan, don't ever let me relax.
I was going to say, it seems like the Ferrari isn't a car that is easy to have, easy to keep an easy eye on while you're trying to sort of avoid others and compromise your own lines. Is it a car that is as difficult to drive as it looks from the outside?
It has its moments. Yeah, especially, well, definitely when I had the damage, it was not wanting to turn off throttle, and then as soon as you get on the throttle, it was wanting to swap ends, so that kept me awake. But no, it's got its plus points, and obviously saw it into Argos, it was very strong, but yeah, if the Porsche's having a good weekend, you're pretty much done for, so, all week even.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seemed like the car to be in tonight again, unfortunately, for those of you that weren't in it. But still, you've been making the Ferrari look good so far. How's your confidence been throughout the campaign at this point? Because we're obviously getting into the second half of things now, and the points are starting, well, there's less of them on the horizon, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, it started out brilliantly and then had a bit of a wobble, sort of rounds 2 and 3. Last week and this week it's started to look up a bit. Even this week a little bit more quali pace, so start building on that and keep bringing that gap to Gianni and Nathan in particular, but I think Matt Hoyland as well tonight was right up there in qualifying, so yeah, if we can gain a couple more starting places, make more of the races, definitely.
I was going to say, it's one of the things that keeps it exciting though as well. You never really know who's going to be the driver on the money each week in this championship, do you?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, for us in Premier, Gianni has sort of put himself sort of in the spotlight with, I don't know how many wins he had in a row at one point, but yeah, sort of just below that, it's sort of anyone's guess really. So yeah, and you even sort of week on week, maybe you just get someone else joining the party. So yeah, a bit sort of potluck at the minute for results, but yeah, just keep taking them.
Absolutely. Well, we hope it continues to be a strong point-scoring campaign for you, Alex. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout-out to before we go?
My teammate James, and last time I shouted him out, I gave him a bit of stick for not turning up, but he's at the West Ham game tonight, so I had no idea what the score is.
Oh, Christ alive. It could have been a good reason to not be here. Flipping heck.
Yeah, I know.
Good God. Well, still, I hope he's enjoyed himself. I think.
Yeah, I'll have a look at the minute and I'll find out.
We'll see what the score is. No spoilers though for anybody. But still, thank you very much for jumping in, Alex. It's always a pleasure to speak to you, mate, and we'll see you again soon.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Well, I'll tell you what, West Ham or iRacing, I don't know about you, Ed, but I think I know which I'd choose. Then again, I'm a Liverpool fan, so I've not got a lot to cheer about. Still.
I'm an Arsenal fan, so I'm in the same boat. I know what I'm picking every
you
day
boys
of
are bottling the life out of it. Right, let's
dear.
move on quickly away from Arsenal bottling it and speak to someone that didn't bottle it in the second race tonight, Simon Cheshire. Simon, welcome to the booth, my friend. Do you have us?
Hello, I do now, yeah.
There we go.
I tried using my headset and plugged the mic in and it wasn't working, so I'm talking through my mobile at the moment, but yeah, it's all working, so
all good.
Hello.
All good. Well, you must be very pleased with that second race tonight, Simon. A great result, big points in the championship for you, and it's never easy in these second races, is it, with the reverse grid in that top 12, because it just throws everything off kilter, doesn't it?
Yeah. Had a good first couple of corners. Resuming my kind of race one battle with Jacko. Yeah, so that was an interesting first couple of corners. I thought, oh, here we go again. Yeah, I managed to. I think I forced him into a bit of a mistake into the left-hander. I can't remember the corner, but he went wide, which let me through. Then I had a queue of cars behind me. I saw Matt disappeared up the road, so I kind of knew I couldn't catch him really. So it was more about saving fuel like I normally do. Normally go a lap longer than everyone else. Mm-hmm. So that was in my mind, and seeing what I could do with the cars behind and keeping ahead of them.
That's it. Sometimes in those situations, you've just got to sort of take the facts of how the start's gone and do a bit of damage limitation, don't you?
Exactly. Yeah. Kind of thought of what I thought I was going to have to do in race one, actually. So my qualifying lap was 2 or 3 tenths down on what I've been doing in practice. So that certainly cost me a couple of positions, but I had a great first lap in race one. I gained, I don't know how many places I gained, but it felt like a really good lap. I hope that showed on stream. Don't know whether it was on there.
Well, it's been a lively evening. Let's just say that with here at Hockenheim.
Yeah.
Very, very busy
Yeah.
night. But we go to Catalonia next time out, which is going to be just as lively. I think it's one of my favourite circuits. I think it's a great place, but it's not easy in GT3 cars. That place. There's a lot of smooth, sweeping corners to keep your eye on, isn't there?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, could be interesting in a Porsche. I haven't driven a Porsche around Catalonia, but yeah, it's a pretty good car most places. So yeah, see how we go.
Absolutely. Well, is there anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to, Simon, before we go?
No, nobody that I can think of.
Fair play, mate. Fair play.
My teammates, MRC, my teammates, hope they had a good race. I'll catch up with them in a minute. So yeah, shout out to MRC.
Good stuff. Always a pleasure, Simon. Thank you very much for your patience. Thanks for jumping in, and we'll see you at Catalonia.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
There we go, Ed. Simon Cheshire. We got there in the end, and he's had a really solid result in that second race. But to not discredit anyone else's performances tonight, 25th to 1st by Troy Dolinchek. That's just vile.
That is just disgusting. Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's an amazing performance from him, but that just shows why he's leading this championship in such commanding fashion.
Really is. He's had an amazing time of it this evening, and so have we here on Chaz Draycott Media for the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship. Thanks everybody for watching. It's been an absolute joy once again. Thanks all the drivers and the organisers and the sponsors as well, Kame, Medius, AB Designs and Keenan Eco Energy. Thanks very much to my co-commentator Ed May. It's always a pleasure, mate, and we will be back with you in a week's time, everybody, where we go to Catalonia for round 11, an endurance round of the championship. But for now, enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you then.
4 French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. The 3 wide again, Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across, they're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
But before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy, you know, these are 5-ton machines, 1200 horsepower brake. Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, you can look and a drift to show off. Back there, go on board with Ben Gregory now. I love it. 10.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.